The sound of shattering glass pierced the air as Eliza Hayes stumbled upon her fiancée, Victoria, in a passionate embrace with his business partner. Blood trickled down her palm where champagne crystal had sliced her skin, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the betrayal ripping through her heart. Alexander Reed, blind billionaire tech genius and the man she'd spent 3 years guiding through darkness, was about to marry a woman who had been deceiving him all along. "I've been helping him build his empire while you've been emptying his accounts," Victoria hissed when she spotted Eliza in the doorway. "You have exactly 24 hours to disappear before I tell Alexander you've been stealing from his company. Who do you think he'll believe? His devoted fiancée or the charity case best friend he hired out of pity?" The ultimatum hung in the air like a death sentence. Everything Eliza had worked for, her career, her reputation, and her unspoken love for Alexander, could vanish overnight because of a lie she had no way to disprove. What Victoria didn't know was that Eliza had already discovered the trail of missing millions, and it led directly to her supposed friend. But exposing Victoria meant risking Alexander's happiness. How could she shatter the world of a man who had already lost so much? The evidence burned in Eliza's pocket like a time bomb as she fled the mansion, tears blurring the lights of the city that had once felt like home. If you're invested in Eliza's impossible choice, hit like and keep watching to see how she confronts this devastating betrayal. Alexander Reed moved through his penthouse with perfect precision, fingers trailing along familiar surfaces. His blindness had never felt like a disability until now, when he sensed that something vital was happening just beyond his perception. "Where's Eliza?" he asked Victoria, surprised by his fiancée's sudden coldness when she took his arm. "She usually joins us for dinner on Thursdays." "Darling, we need to talk," Victoria's voice dripped with rehearsed concern. "I've discovered something troubling about your trusted assistant." Across town, Eliza frantically compiled financial records, her fingers flying across her keyboard. The coding algorithm she'd secretly developed had finally cracked Victoria's encrypted transactions. The evidence was damning. Victoria had been systematically draining company funds for months, preparing to disappear after the wedding. But proving it would mean admitting to Alexander that she'd been investigating his fiancée behind his back. Eliza's phone buzzed with a message from Alexander's lawyer. "Meeting moved up. Board convening tomorrow morning to discuss financial discrepancies. Pushing for immediate termination of your position." Her heart raced as she realized the timeline had accelerated. Victoria wasn't waiting 24 hours, she was moving now to destroy Eliza completely. This corporate conspiracy goes deeper than anyone imagined. Comment below with what you think Eliza should do next. The boardroom fell silent as Alexander entered, his commanding presence undimmed by the dark glasses shielding his sightless eyes. His hand rested on Victoria's arm, but something in his posture suggested distance, a barely perceptible space between them that hadn't existed before. "I understand we're here to discuss a serious financial matter," he addressed the room, his voice carefully controlled. "Before we begin, I have one request. I want Eliza Hayes present." Victoria stiffened. "Darling, that's inappropriate given the circumstances. She's the subject of the investigation." "Is she?" Alexander asked quietly. "Or is someone else afraid of what she might say?" The doors swung open, and Eliza entered with calm dignity that belied her racing heart. The flash drive in her hand contained either her salvation or her destruction. As she connected it to the presentation system, she caught Alexander's slight nod in her direction. Somehow, impossibly, he had sensed her arrival. "Before accusations are made," Eliza announced to the stunned board members, "I believe you should see this evidence of systematic embezzlement that I've uncovered." As the financial trails illuminated the screen, all eyes turned to Victoria, whose face had drained of color. The betrayal runs even deeper than we thought. Subscribe now so you don't miss what happens when Alexander confronts the woman who's been lying to him all along. Hours later, as security escorted a furious Victoria from the building, Alexander found Eliza in his private office. The silence between them vibrated with unspoken emotions. How long have you known? He finally asked, his voice rough with feeling. 3 weeks, she admitted. I noticed discrepancies in the quarterly reports. That's not what I meant. His fingers found her face with unerring accuracy, tracing the contours he had never seen but somehow knew intimately. How long have you known that I'm in love with the wrong woman? Eliza's breath caught. Alexander. You've been guiding me through darkness for 3 years, he continued, but I've been blind in more ways than one. I couldn't say anything, she whispered. She was my friend, and you chose her. Did I? He smiled sadly. Or did I choose the safer option because I was afraid of what I truly wanted? The tension between them crackled like electricity as years of unspoken feelings surged to the surface. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining with the familiarity of puzzle pieces finally finding their match. I need time, Eliza said honestly. This is all happening so fast. Time is the one luxury I can afford, Alexander replied, his smile warming. But know this, I see you, Eliza Hayes. I've always seen you, even without my eyes. If this moment touched your heart, hit that like button and share with someone who deserves their own second chance at love. Over the following weeks, the media erupted with headlines about Victoria's arrest and the daring investigation that had saved Reed Technologies from financial collapse. Alexander retreated from the public eye, focusing on rebuilding both his company and his personal life. Eliza continued her work as his executive assistant, maintaining professional boundaries during office hours while their evenings slowly transformed into something deeper. They rediscovered each other through long conversations, Alexander's withdrawing genuine laughter from Eliza for the first time in months. Describe the sunset to me, he asked one evening as they sat on his penthouse balcony. It's radiant orange melting into purple, she began, then stopped. But that doesn't capture it at all. Try again, he encouraged. Not what you see, what you feel. She considered this. It feels like endings and beginnings happening simultaneously. Like nature reminding us that something beautiful can come from loss. Alexander's hand found hers in the fading light. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Just as their relationship began to bloom, disaster struck. An emergency board meeting revealed that Victoria's betrayal went deeper than anyone had suspected. She had sold proprietary technology to their biggest competitor, putting thousands of jobs and Alexander's life's work at risk. The company was facing potential bankruptcy and a devastating lawsuit. We could lose everything, Alexander admitted, his voice hollow. I've let down everyone who trusted me. Eliza watched the man she loved drowning in guilt and faced her own impossible decision: walk away and protect herself from the coming storm, or stand beside him and risk having nothing left if they failed. Will Eliza choose safety or love in this moment of crisis? Subscribe to find out how she faces this ultimate test. The board is demanding your resignation, Eliza reported grimly, setting down the latest legal documents. 3 months of fighting had left them both exhausted, the future of Reed Technologies hanging by a thread. Alexander sat motionless behind his desk, fingers tracing the braille display that connected him to his work. Perhaps they're right. No. Eliza's voice was sharp with sudden clarity. This company is your vision, your legacy. I won't let you surrender it. What other choice do we have? We create a new algorithm, she said, excitement building as the idea crystallized. Remember that experimental interface we shelved last year? I think I've figured out how to make it work. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered across Alexander's face. That would take months of development. Unless we work around the clock, Eliza challenged. I've already contacted the original research team. They're ready if you are. Alexander stood, his movements suddenly decisive. You continue to amaze me, Eliza Hayes. That's my job, she replied lightly. His hand caught hers, his expression serious. No, your job is being my assistant. This, believing in me when I've stopped believing in myself, this is something else entirely. The air between them charged with possibility as he drew her closer. I've been respecting your request for time, for space to figure out what you want. But I need to know, are we fighting for the company, or is there something else worth saving here too? Eliza stood at the precipice of vulnerability, knowing her answer would change everything. Both, she whispered, finally giving voice to her heart. Definitely both. His kiss was gentle at first, then deepened with years of restrained longing. When they finally broke apart, Eliza rested her forehead against his. We should probably get to work on saving your company, she murmured. Alexander smiled, the rare, genuine smile that had always been reserved just for her. Our company, he corrected. And we will, tomorrow. Like and share if you believe in second chances and the power of believing in someone when they've lost faith in themselves. Days blurred into nights as they worked relentlessly on the new technology. Eliza moved temporarily into the guest room of Alexander's penthouse, their lives merging around the shared mission. Their relationship deepened not through grand gestures but in quiet moments, Alexander learning to cook simple meals for their late-night work sessions, Eliza reading aloud from his favorite books when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them. Why did you never tell me how you felt? He asked one night as they sat surrounded by takeout containers and technical specifications. Eliza considered the question carefully. At first, it was because I worked for you, and it felt inappropriate. Then you started dating Victoria, and she was my friend. And after? After, I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid of losing what we already had. You were the most important person in my life, even as just your assistant. Alexander's expression softened. You were never just my assistant, Eliza. You were the person who saw me, not as a blind man, not as a billionaire, but as myself. Their tender moment was interrupted by an urgent call. The competitor using Victoria's stolen technology had announced a product launch that would render Reed Technologies obsolete within weeks. We're out of time, Alexander said grimly after ending the call. The board is voting tomorrow on liquidation options. Eliza stared at their unfinished work, so close to breakthrough, yet still incomplete. We need more time. That's the one thing money can't buy, Alexander replied, his voice heavy with defeat. Eliza suddenly straightened, an idea forming. What if we could show them what we're building? Not the finished product, but enough to prove its value? A demonstration? With half-finished technology? Alexander sounded skeptical. A calculated risk, she corrected, already moving to her computer. Just like falling in love with your fiancé's best friend. For the first time in days, Alexander laughed. When you put it that way, how can I possibly say no? This make or break moment will determine everything. Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the dramatic board meeting that could change Alexander and Eliza's future forever. The boardroom buzzed with tension as shareholders and executives gathered for what many believed would be Reed Technologies' final meeting. Alexander stood at the head of the table, commanding despite the whispers of imminent failure surrounding him. Before you vote on liquidation, he announced, I have an alternative proposal. A demonstration of technology that will secure our company's future for decades to come. Skeptical murmurs rippled through the room as Eliza wheeled in what appeared to be a simple chair with a headset attachment. This prototype represents a complete paradigm shift in accessibility technology, Alexander explained. Not just for the visually impaired, but for anyone with physical limitations. He sat in the chair and allowed Eliza to place the headset over his eyes. For years, technology has tried to describe the visual world to those who cannot see it. Our breakthrough does something different. It translates visual data into sensory experiences that the brain can interpret without sight. The room fell silent as Alexander activated the device. His body tensed, then relaxed as a smile of wonder spread across his face. I can feel the shape of this room, he said quietly. Not see it, feel it. The dimensions, the people, the light from the windows. He turned unerringly toward one board member. Dr. Winters, you're standing by the projection screen. And Mr. Gallo, you've moved to the corner near the door. The executives exchanged astonished glances as Alexander continued to identify their positions with perfect accuracy. This is just the beginning, Eliza added, her voice strong with conviction. The commercial applications extend far beyond accessibility. Virtual reality, remote surgery, space exploration, anywhere humans need to perceive environments beyond normal sensory capabilities. This could revolutionize a dozen industries, one board member murmured. If it works as claimed, another countered skeptically. Alexander removed the headset, his expression serene. I'm offering each of you the chance to test it yourselves. Experience a fraction of what's possible, then decide if Reed Technologies deserves to survive. One by one, the board members tried the prototype. With each demonstration, disbelief transformed into excitement. By the time the final executive removed the headset, the energy in the room had completely transformed. I move that liquidation be taken off the table, announced the chairwoman, her earlier doubt replaced by determination. And that we allocate emergency funding to fast-track this technology's development. As the vote passed unanimously, Eliza felt Alexander's hand find hers beneath the table. In that moment of triumph, the touch of his fingers conveyed everything words couldn't express: gratitude, partnership, and the promise of something much deeper than professional success. Like and share to celebrate this incredible comeback. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity, and when someone believes in you enough to fight for your vision. 6 months later, Reed Technologies had not only recovered but was thriving. Their new sensory interface technology had generated unprecedented interest, with pre-orders exceeding all projections. Victoria's trial had concluded with a lengthy prison sentence, the justice providing some closure to the betrayal that had nearly destroyed everything. On the evening of their most successful product launch, Eliza found Alexander waiting on the rooftop garden of the company headquarters, champagne chilling beside him. "How did you know I'd come up here?" she asked, smiling as he turned toward the sound of her voice. "Because you always seek high places to think," he replied simply. "And we have a lot to think about tonight. Like the fact that your company just made technology history," she teased, accepting the champagne flute he offered. "Our company," he corrected gently. "Though that's not what I wanted to discuss." Alexander set down his glass and took both her hands in his. "Eliza Hayes, you've been guiding me through darkness for years, literally and figuratively. You saw the truth when I was deceived, believed in me when I lost faith, and loved me even when loving me meant risking everything you'd worked for." He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. "I don't need my eyes to see that you're the most beautiful soul I've ever known. I don't need technology to feel that you're the missing piece that makes me whole." Opening the box to reveal a stunning sapphire ring, he asked simply, "Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Eliza's cheeks as emotions overwhelmed her. This moment, this impossible, perfect moment, had seemed beyond reach for so long. "Yes," she whispered, then laughed through her tears and said it louder. "Yes, Alexander. 1,000 times yes." As he slipped the ring onto her finger, Alexander smiled. "I may never see your face with my eyes, but I see you with my heart. I always have." Their kiss beneath the stars sealed a promise born from betrayal and forged through adversity, a testament to the truth that sometimes the greatest love stories begin with heartbreak. "You know," Eliza murmured against his lips, "there's a certain poetry to this. The blind man who saw what everyone else missed." Alexander laughed, holding her close as the city lights sparkled below them like earthbound stars. "Perhaps that's the greatest lesson in all of this. True vision has nothing to do with eyesight, and everything to do with the heart." If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone special. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the ones that begin when we're brave enough to see with our hearts instead of our eyes.